Most people think loneliness is a problem. If someone spends Friday night alone instead of going out with friends, we assume something must be wrong. Maybe they're shy. Maybe they're antisocial. Maybe they're just unhappy. But every once in a while, you meet someone who genuinely enjoys being alone. Not because they have no other choice, but because they prefer it. They leave a crowded room feeling exhausted, yet a few quiet hours by themselves leaves them feeling completely recharged. For a long time, psychologists believed this was unusual. After all, humans are one of the most social species on Earth. We built civilizations by cooperating. We survived because we stayed together. So why would some of the brightest minds throughout history repeatedly choose solitude over company? The answer has surprisingly little to do with introversion, much more to do with how intelligence changes the way the brain experiences the world. To understand why, we have to go back much farther than modern psychology. Long before cities, schools, or smartphones, our ancestors lived in small tribes of around 150 people. This number appears again and again across anthropology. It's often called Dunbar's number. The idea that the human brain naturally manages around 150 meaningful relationships. For hundreds of thousands of years, this was normal life. Every day involved constant interaction, hunting together, sharing food together, watching children together, solving problems as a group. Being separated from the tribe was not peaceful. It was dangerous. Alone means vulnerable. A person isolated from the group faces predators, starvation, and almost certain death. Our brains evolved to reward social connection because, for most of human history, being accepted literally meant surviving another day. That ancient programming still exists inside of us, which explains why rejection hurts so much. Brain scans have shown that social rejection activates many of the same regions involved in physical pain. Your brain treats exclusion as a survival threat, even if you're simply being ignored in a group chat. Here's where things become interesting. Around 2010, researchers Satoshi Konzawa and Norman Lee analyzed data from thousands of people to study something they called the Savannah theory of happiness. Their conclusion surprised almost everybody. Most people become happier when they spend more time with friends. Highly intelligent people often show the opposite pattern, though. More frequently they socialize, the less satisfied they tend to be with life. At first glance, that sounds impossible, right? Why would intelligence change something so deeply human? The answer isn't that intelligent people dislike others or hate people. It's that their brains often process social interaction differently. Every conversation demands attention. Every facial expression carries information. Every joke, disagreement, interruption, emotional cue requires mental processing. For many people, this feels energizing. For others, it's, I guess you could say, simply expensive. Imagine opening 50 tabs on your computer. Machine still works, but things start to slow down. It's hard to manage over 50 tabs. Remember everything was. For some highly analytical minds, crowded social environments feels like that. It's overwhelming. Very overwhelming. Not unpleasant. It's because their brains are constantly analyzing patterns, predicting outcomes, evaluating possibilities. Silence becomes very valuable. It's one of the few environments where the mind can finally think without interruption. And history offers countless examples. Isaac Newton developed many of his revolutionary ideas while isolated during the Great Plague of London. When Cambridge University closed in 1665, Newton returned to his family home. Without lectures, without meetings, without constant conversation, and in a couple years he developed early calculus, groundbreaking work on light, and the foundations of gravity. Historians often call it his annus mirabilis, his miraculous year. It wasn't despite the solitude. It happened during it. Nikola Tesla, famous example. He often took solitary walks, long solitary walks, before developing new inventions entirely in his imagination. He claimed he could build machines inside his mind, test them, improve them, and only then create them in reality. Whether every detail of that claim is true or not, one thing is very clear. He fiercely protected uninterrupted thinking time. He was alone. Charles Darwin, Virginia Woolf, Arthur Schopenhauer, Marie Curie. Many extraordinary thinkers share one unusual habit. They intentionally create distance from social stimulation. Now here's something very important. Solitude is not the same as loneliness. The two are often confused. Loneliness is wanting connection but not having it. Solitude is choosing to be alone and finding peace there. One causes stress, the other can reduce it. Researchers have repeatedly found that periods of intentional solitude can improve creativity, strengthen memory consolidation, and even help regulate emotions. That's because your brain has a network called the default mode network. Ironically, it becomes the most active when you're doing almost nothing. Walking alone, looking out at a window, sitting quietly, taking a shower. The moments may seem unproductive, but inside your brain they're incredibly busy. This is often when memories are organized, future scenarios are imagined, problems are solved without conscious effort. People have experienced this without realizing it. You've struggled with a problem for hours. Then suddenly a long, quiet drive home or taking a long walk, the answer appears out of nowhere. It did not pop out of nowhere, out of a vacuum. Your brain simply needed silence to connect ideas that constant stimulation keeps interrupting. Modern life, let's be honest, rarely allows that. The average person checks their phone hundreds of times a day. Notifications compete for attention. Music fills every quiet moment. Even waiting in line has become something to escape, run away from, rather than experience. We've become uncomfortable with silence. Not because silence changed, we've changed. That creates an interesting paradox. Never before have humans been so connected, and never before have so many people struggled to even spend 10 minutes alone with their own thoughts. For some people, silence feels empty. For others, it feels full, fulfilling, full of ideas, connections, questions, possibilities. This doesn't mean intelligent people are better than everyone else, no. Nor does it mean enjoying parties somehow makes you less intelligent. Human personalities are, honestly, far too complex for just simple ideas or simple labels. Some people, some very brilliant people, are incredibly social. Some quiet people aren't particularly intellectual at all. They are out there, but there does seem to be a pattern. As thinking becomes more complex, uninterrupted time often becomes more valuable, because original ideas rarely appear in the middle of noise. They usually show up afterward, the quiet moments when no one else is speaking. And that's why so many remarkable discoveries begin with somebody sitting alone, staring out of a window while everyone else is assuming they're doing absolutely nothing. The next time you see someone choosing a quiet evening over a crowded room, for example, it might be tempting to assume they're missing out. But maybe they're doing something far more important. Maybe they're giving their mind the one thing that has become increasingly rare in the modern world: space to think.